Family and fellow soldiers, I'm the Professor, and this is the Moment of Truth. And now the Friday Crime Report. New York City, Monday, March 24th, 2025, 8 o'clock a.m. An unnamed black teenage boy, age 16, was on his way to school. Like many children in New York City, this child takes the subway to get there. Well, this Monday, he was assaulted at the Stillwell Avenue subway station in Coney Island, which is also the same station where a 57-year-old woman was set afire and killed in December. Police say that the victim was confronted by a group of white teenagers on the mezzanine level. Police believe that this group numbered between 5 to 9 white males. The white mob struck him in the head, then repeatedly punched and kicked him in the body. They mocked him with the N-words as they assaulted him. One of them threw a banana at him. They even stole one of his shoes. Fortunately, the victim survived this attack, which tragically is not the case in many hate crimes where black children are targeted. After the attack, the victim initially said that he didn't need to see a doctor, but later on he sought treatment at South Brooklyn Health for his injuries. The victim's sister said that he didn't know anything about the white mob that had attacked him, but that he was fine physically, though messed up mentally. Video of the attack would be posted on Instagram before being taken down. On Wednesday, police arrested 2 of the teenage assailants, ages 14 and 16. The 16-year-old faces 5 criminal charges, including hate crime robbery and hate crime gang assault in the second degree. They released the 14-year-old without even charging him. So already the authorities are burying this crime, which is their way of giving a wink and a nod to it. Now, this hate crime occurred on Monday of this week in New York City, where if somebody non-black stubs their toe, the white media will be all over that wall-to-wall coverage, and yet this one was buried. And all you have to do is look at how the New York Times chose to cover this crime to find out why. The so-called paper of record in the city immediately began minimizing this hate crime in their coverage, which reads more like a cover-up. As the New York Times put it, hate crimes on the subway, in line with broader trends, are down. The number of hate crimes in the system dropped 32% in 2024 compared with the previous year. And that wasn't the only thing that they did. When they were trying to minimize the data on this, they actually used the phrase that data shows that crime on the subway has declined overall, though perceptions of criminality remain persistent. Gee, that wasn't what they were saying when Daniel Penny killed Jordan Neely. They were saying instead that, people are terrified and with good reason. All this crime going on the subway. That's what they were saying then. But now that you have a black child who's been beaten by a white mob, all of a sudden it's, people only perceive that there's criminality being persistent. That's just a perception. That's not the reality. Suddenly, subway crimes are no longer a plague overwhelming the city, and the people are not terrified for their lives because in this case, they can't demonize the victim. The victim's a child attacked by a white mob this time and not just some violent punk on the subway as it was with Daniel Penny. So that doesn't suit the white media's narrative. They can't make a bad guy out of the victim. Roving white gangs assaulting black children, committing hate crimes in broad daylight? Well, we know people might want to make an issue out of that, but they really shouldn't. So instead, they're going, subway crimes are just down. People are scared for nothing. It's a perception issue, you see. The New York Times, in fact, was so desperate to minimize this hate crime in their story that they wouldn't even identify the assailants as being white. Instead, they simply called them people. They didn't describe them, they just called them people, as if these were just some random strangers off the street who had nothing in common. In fact, the New York Times didn't even use the word white in their entire story. This was days after other white media outlets had already identified the attackers as being a gang of white teenagers. So you have the New York Times going out of their way to make a racial attack seem like it wasn't racial at all. Now, whenever the New York Times or any of the white media outlets talks about alleged acts of anti-Semitism, which the white media now reports as anything that criticizes Israel, they make sure to say that anti-Semitic incidents are up no matter what. They never minimize it. You look at any news coverage that the white media, particularly in New York, does, and if they talk about anti-Semitism, they never say that, hate crimes are down. They make sure to tell you that anti-Semitic incidents are up, highest levels ever, unprecedented levels, highest ever recorded. They would not dare mention anti-Semitism and then try to put a bow on it and say, hate crimes in general are down. So-and-so is attacked on the street. Street crimes in the city are down overall. And it wasn't just the New York Times that engaged in this scurrilous minimization. You also had other white media outlets too saying the exact same thing, pushing the exact same theme, claiming that, well, hate crimes are down overall, so whatever happened to this black child is not that important. As usual, it's the same organized offense that we're up against with the white media leading the charge. Anti-black hate crimes always outnumber incidents against every other group. And the anti-black hate crimes aren't that someone was protesting some country in Africa. It's not about what somebody said. Anti-black hate crimes are hate crimes. They're violent offenses. In fact, anti-black hate crimes happen so often that a lot of them don't even get reported. And when you consider that law enforcement actively protects these hate criminals, refuses to investigate what are clearly hate crimes, that they're always making excuses and saying, well, it must be something else, and that prosecutors are only too quick to claim that, well, we're not going to be prosecuting this as a hate crime. And even on the rare occasion where they do prosecute, they're the first ones to want to drop charges or offer a sweetheart plea deal to the assailants. You see exactly why it is that so many anti-black hate crimes are not even reported. Black people are the primary victims of hate crimes in New York and in America, and yet nobody says that there must be an anti-black hate crimes task force just for black victims. The Black Attorney General of New York State, Letitia James, she went to the mat when Asians reported having a few incidents, but the number of black victims far outnumbers everyone else, and yet Letitia James didn't feel like there needed to be some sort of task force specifically to investigate and handle anti-black hate crimes. The authorities and the white media always make it a point to downplay those, ignore those, spout some empty gibberish about no place for hate in fill in the blank, when the reality is their refusal to prioritize the primary victims of hate crimes makes it where everywhere is a place for anti-black crimes. We'll continue with the moment of truth in just a moment, but first, a word from the official sponsor of Black Empowerment, Power Tools. There's no telling when something's going to come up, so make sure you carry your power tools at all times. You never know when you're going to need to bring the hammer down, or when you'll have some trash that needs to be blown away, or some obstacle that requires cutting down. Don't get caught empty-handed. Keep your hammer close by. Keep that leaf blower at the ready, and always carry your steel. Power Tools. Because no matter what your day job or side hustle may be, there's no excuse for not being ready to put in some work. The perpetrators of this latest hate crime are teenagers, which means that they're the latter half of Gen Z. This stuff is taught in the homes. New York has always practiced open, targeted violence against black people, including black children. Just like when Bernie Goetz, totally unprovoked, tried to murder black children on the subway. Just like Michael Griffith, who a white mob beat to death. Just like John White, whose son was attacked by white teens at a so-called party, and then that white mob followed their victim to his home, and like some lynch mob, they demanded that this child be brought out to them or else. And when John White protected his family and himself, you didn't have anyone in the white media justifying that like they did with Bernie Goetz and Daniel Penny. No, when it's a black man who's the one who has to use force to protect himself and his family, they don't even attempt to defend it, justify it, or even explain it. Nobody in the white media said, well, John White did kill some white teenager who came to his home after beating his son at a party, but black people are the primary victims of hate crimes in New York and in America, and here's the stats on that. And by the way, hate crimes against black people happen to be up, so the black victims of hate crimes, it makes sense that they're scared. They should be. Look at all the attacks against them. They didn't do that. Instead, it was, here's this crazy nigger who decided to kill this white teenager for no reason whatsoever. Just because they were out in front of your house in the middle of the night demanding that your son be sent out to them after they beat him at a party, that's no reason for you to actually think that force should be used, especially when you tell them to leave, you're on your property, and they're standing there too. What's this world coming to? The white media and the so-called authorities have deliberately created a socially permissive environment for anti-black hate crimes. Everybody understands that these hate crimes against black people are not treated seriously because the authorities want them to continue. You don't need to spell it out. As long as you don't punish and pursue anti-black hate crimes, as long as there is no full court press to prevent anti-black hate crimes, and as long as the white media goes ahead, minimizes it, and explains it away, everybody gets the point. Anti-black hate crimes are no crimes at all. That is why these things continue to happen. These anti-black thugs know that every major arena and institution in the society will eagerly defend them, and if they can't defend them, they'll at least minimize whatever crimes they commit, so long as it's against a black person. Everyone knows the rules of racism. That's the reason why I say and continue to tell you that as black people, we are under no obligation to sit on our hands while we're attacked. We are under no obligation to decide that if we're going to be targeted for prosecution for defending ourselves, well, that means we better not defend ourselves at all. How many black people have lost their lives because when it came time for them to protect themselves, they already knew that they would be the ones who would be prosecuted simply for trying to protect themselves and those around them? How many black people have died because they hesitated to protect themselves? Now, of course, when it comes to incidents like these, I'm not going to get on a soapbox about what it is that black people in general and black parents in specific need to do or be prepared to do to make sure that their children are not assaulted or to protect them in the event that some anti-black hate crime occurs. But I will say that no one is more justified in protecting the lives of black children than their parents. And that we don't need to hold up our hands and ask permission to make sure that black children don't have to live in fear of the next white racist mob that thinks that they're a soft target. But what black parents do need is that when they have to protect their children, we don't allow anybody to sit here and minimize the need for doing so, or to claim that they overreacted, or to do anything that casts aspersions on them. We don't need the white media or political sellouts like Letitia James to understand that. What's important is that black people understand this fact. And when it comes to protecting black children, we're not looking for the white media's approval or for Letitia James' permission either. And that's this week's Friday Crime Report. Keep your eyes open and stay on alert, because there's a lot worse criminals out there than the ones the white corporate media chooses to show you. Good day, and be one. I'd like to take a moment to mention some of our contributors. Rob Mack, Christopher Joseph, Deep I-904, Josh Heath, and Norma Anthony. Salute to them and thank you to everyone for listening, liking, and sharing this message. Black empowerment only exists because of you.